What is going on, YouTube? This is NotAVlog, and again, I'm outside. That ain't too bad though. Okay, so for this video, I was thinking about doing something that I've seen a couple people doing on YouTube recently. So I saw a lot of videos popping up about people pretty much describing their Rapture dreams on YouTube recently. I was kind of taken aback because I have had a Rapture dream before too, and didn't know that was something that people really wanted to hear about. And so I figured I'd put my 2 cents in on this topic. So without further ado, this is my Rapture dream. So a bit of context before we start. I had this dream in 2012, around the time that everybody was freaking out about the end of the world happening in 2012. I mean, they even made a movie about it. Insert movie poster here. Around the time that everybody was talking about the craze of 2012 and the end of the world happening at that point in time, I had this dream about the actual end of the world, which is pretty crazy if you ask me. How many people can say they had an end of the world dream during a time when everybody thought the world was going to end? But I'll just go right into it. So the dream, and I was in the middle of hiking on this trail on one of the volcanoes in Hawaii, and it was during the day and it was really beautiful out. Like, you could see the sea, I could see the greenery, and it was like a super bright in a really sunny day. And I realized, I was like, oh, hey, I'm walking with my uncle, and I was talking with him. And I don't remember quite exactly what I was talking to him about. I just remember that I was talking to him and we were walking down this trail coming back to like ground level or sea level, I guess. As we continued to walk, and I remember approaching this like wooden rickety bridge, the dream shifted and all of a sudden I was back down at sea level, and it had gotten later in the day. It was closer to sunset. I was standing on the beach, and my whole family, like every single member of my family, my extended family, everybody was there. We were having like a little party or a picnic on the beach or whatnot, watching the sun go down. And it was kind of like watching the sunset, and I looked out over the sea and I was watching the sunset. And as I was watching the sunset, I noticed something that was a little bit off and a little bit different about the horizon. And as I noticed something changing on the horizon, I noticed my family also noticing this change happening on the horizon. And we all started to look over to see what was happening. Way off in the distance, it had to have been like right next to the sun. And as you could see that happening, we noticed just how bright that little white light was, but that it also had a tail coming from the end. And in my mind, in the dream, I thought to myself, oh shoot, is that like an asteroid coming down from the sky? And just as the big bright ball of light was just about to hit the water, a bright flash happened, and it filled like my entire vision. Like it filled my entire vision. Like it was just like, boo, like you see in like Call of Duty whenever you get flashbanged or something. Go, go, go. And just a huge bright light. And as the light began to like recede, I noticed that I was no longer standing on the beach in like Hawaii. I was in almost like a Middle Eastern type of like city, almost like picture like Agrabah from Aladdin, that kind of city. I was suddenly standing in this like giant city that was extraordinarily, like you could tell just by the buildings how they looked, in just kind of like that arid looking area. That's what it kind of looked like. I was very taken aback by being in a different place than I was before. And I remember noticing that the city was extremely clean. Like it was very clean, and there was like nothing on the streets. There was no trash floating around, but it was also very empty. And I realized that it was completely empty. Like there was nobody there, like no signs of life. But in the background, like almost like, imagine if like a group of people were standing across a football field and singing. I could hear that, like a very distant song being sung. Like it was just a massive group of people singing a song. And in the dream, I knew what was happening. I was like, I know I'm in heaven. I also knew where everybody was at. I was like surprised at first that there was nobody there, but I knew where everybody was at, even though like I was never told where everybody, they were having like a service in heaven. And I remember I was just walking through the streets and like looking inside of houses, and there was like no doors on any of the houses. And there were like mats on the ground where people could sit at. And it was very strange because you normally wouldn't see houses without doors on them. But every single house that I walked past, you could look right through the door and see what it was like. It was super bright, like how today is and everything, like very nice day. Like sun was out, sky was blue blue type of thing. Like, it was a really nice day. And I was like, oh shoot, everybody's at service or whatnot. And I was walking through the city that was like, it seemed empty, but you could tell that people lived there and they were just out for a little bit. Then as I was walking through the city, I finally came to this edge, like it was an edge of the city. And at this edge, I realized like it was like a drop off. I noticed there was this giant gap, like massive gap. It's probably more akin to both sides of a 4-lane highway, like wide. It was massive, like huge, and it just dropped like straight, going absolutely nowhere. Like, I don't know where it would have went down to. I just remember thinking there's no way anybody could ever jump across that gap at all. And I remember looking across the gap and seeing on the other side that there was more land going over. Like, I could see the edge in like maybe 3 feet in, but the rest after that just kept getting darker and darker, and you couldn't see anything far past there. I remember seeing standing on the other edge of the chasm was someone I knew, and it was like a singular person. They were standing there, and I was like, oh shoot, man, I wish I could like help them and get them over here type of thing, or take their place, or like, oh man, that really sucks. Like, my heart hurt for them. And I began to realize that that was more than likely just like the representation of hell, because of the fact that there was the chasm there that separated heaven from hell. Like, they were in the same place. You're not getting across the chasm unless you can like fly or something. But as opposed to like the vibrance and the brightness of where I assumed to be heaven, the opposite was so dark and just looked like very cold, and you could tell the sharp contrast. But in viewing all of this dream, I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is like really real. Like, I didn't get to see like Jesus or anything. I don't even think I really needed to. Like, it would be cool to see Jesus, but like, I didn't really think I needed to, because like, I knew where it was. I knew what I was doing there. I knew all of the different things. I knew all of the stuff whenever I got there, and it was like just given to me, and I just knew it. I didn't have to ask anybody or talk to anyone. But honestly, I thought that was really cool, and to go along with the theme of what I've been getting from God recently about how he's coming back soon, I thought it was very fitting to give this detailed story of my Rapture dream experience. I was thinking it might give people hope for the future and give people something to look forward, because he is coming back, and you have really cool stuff to look forward to. So yeah, that is my Rapture dream, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay blessed.